being with a group of people like you. There's another group of people, some people I would really like to recognize, and I want to tell them how special they are right now, and I'll continue to tell them how special they are. And that's your county commissioners. They're very special. And the things that I'm going to tell and talk to you about, I'm going to talk directly to them. They might not like what I say. I don't even give a damn if they like what I say, because I'm going to say it. but they are special to us. I want you to remember that. And the things I talk to them about won't be personal. It'll be because of their position that you have elected them to be. The other person that's, we got one county sheriff. Welcome. I'm happy to talk to you. I have talked to a lot of county sheriffs, not a lot, but I've talked to quite a few county sheriffs. In meetings like this, you are the most important person here. I want you to understand that. In my mind, and I hope these people here understand what I'm talking about when it's all done and said. I'm not going to take any pressures off your back. I might even put some on there. But I do honor you, and I'm thankful you're here. I want to talk to you about the proper form of government. I want to set this straight with you, what the proper form of the government is according to our Constitution. And then after we get through understanding that, there's some terms and conditions, not terms and conditions, definitions. That, you know, your definition, my definition is going to be different. I want you to understand what I'm talking about here today. And so what I'm going to, did we ever get this projector to work?
Yeah, all I got to do is push play.
Okay. On this, well, let me give you a little bit more background about who I am. You might see in the headlines, Last Man Stands. Well, let me tell you what they're talking about. They're talking about me, Cliven D. Bundy, Last Man Stands. What they're saying is I'm the last man standing in Clark County, Nevada as a rancher. And sometimes I think I'm the last man standing in the state of Nevada. And I hope I'm not the last man standing in this nation that understands and believes in the Constitution of the United States. And I hope I'm not the last man standing realizing that this is a spatial land. One above any other land on earth. This is a spatial land. And you want to hear me on that mic?
Yes, we do.
I thought I would make a lot of noise.
Donna says she wanted this record.
Well, let me get over here and see if I can figure out how to make this difference. Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
Okay. Talking about the last man stand, I want to tell you that I live down in the Mojave Desert, probably one of the driest places on earth. I used to have 52 neighboring ranches in Clark County. I'm the only one left. I've been through the Catherine County fight, the Nye County fight, the federal land fight, the Sagebrush Rebellion fight. I've been involved a little bit with all of those. And about 20 years ago, I was involved with the BLM as under committees, grazing boards and committees and state and BLM. And I figured out 20 years ago or over that they were only here to try to get rid of us as ranchers. And then I started to understand about the grazing licenses. It took me a little while. I finally decided that, hey, those grazing licenses were contracts. And I understand when we make a contract with somebody that we are, the Constitution backs up contracts. If I make a contract with any one of you and one of us break that contract, what are we going to do with it? We're going to end up in court. We've signed our contract of a certain agreement, and now we've broken, so we're in trouble. But when we get involved with the government and sign leases and that type of thing, I understood contracts. But one of the main things I understood was the fact that they were basically their language was cattle free by 92, no more move by 93. Does anybody understand that? What?
You got it backwards. No more move by 92, cattle free by 93.
Okay, that works. You know, when I heard that, I thought that'll never happen. But then I seen 52 of my neighbors disappear. And I just talked to people in Nevada here just the last day or two. Since 1980, the livestock industry is 1/2 of the number of cows in Nevada that we had in just 1980. In 1964, I remember, that was when I was in school, and Elko County was the cattle capital of the world. That was what we took back to FFA Nice Conference. That was we come from the cattle capital of the world, was Elko County. You know, things have really deteriorated. And let me tell you again, let's get back to the one-man stand thing. When I decided that I was paying grazing fees for somebody to manage me out of business, I said, hell no. I said no, and then I said hell no, didn't I? Why would I pay somebody to manage me out of business? And so I said no, and what I learned from that point on, I was constitutionally right. I found out that 12.5% of my grazing fees was going to pay for management, and then I found out that all of the rest of the grazing fees were supposed to come back as range improvements upon our ranches. And I found out that this endangered species, all these other wildlife things and all that, they were using all of our grazing improvements money back on theirs. So what I did is I fired the BLM. Well, when I fired the BLM, let me tell you how I did it. I did it through a constructive notice to the Bureau of, or the Solicitor's Office and the Interior Office and the State of Nevada District Office. And what did I tell them? I said, I no longer need your service as a manager over my ranch, and I'm not going to pay you for that no more. And for 20 years, I have not paid any grazing fees, and as far as I'm concerned, the BLM don't exist. So you can sort of see what kind of trouble I've been in for the last 20 years. But let me tell you something. I found peace. I don't think I could have lived another 5 years under the stress that they was putting me under. I was going to meetings every few days and the full force and effect trespass notices and on and on and on. I mean, I got rid of all of that stuff, and I've lived for 20 years without that. Now, let me tell you another thing I've done. I have put range improvements on my range, and I have managed my cattle, and my herd is, according to BLM, my herd has went from about 150 to 900 head. I mean, that's pretty darn good management, I think. And I'd say my range conditions are better now than by far before I became the manager. Everything is improved. For example, when the mountain burns off, and I haven't had a lot of burns because I grazed my thing, but on a good year, about 5 years ago, we had some Mexican feed. Part of that mountain burned off. What did I do? I didn't bring my cows off and say they couldn't go back for 2 years or 3 years. You know what I did? I took my whole damn herd and put up on that mountain. You know what happened? It was a browsing mountain. Then cows kept that browse down about that high. They trunked tracks all over that mountain where they hadn't been a darn cow or a deer could even get on it because of the brush and the roughness. And they made tracks. I created, helped the erosion. I browsed my brush off, and I kept my cheatgrass down, and I raised cattle there. Not because of their management, but because of my management. Let me tell you another story about management. Same period of time, a fire went up through the country. And my son and I went up there, and they were airplane flying around and around. Pretty soon they dropped about a dozen the fire fighters, and they land down there, and I stop and see what they're doing. Well, they're investigating this fire. And I find out in the little town of Bunkerville, they have about 2,000 firefighters moved in there around the park and the school, and they have trucks and cats and dozers and on and on and on. I don't know how many thousands and even millions of dollars. Let me tell you what happened. This is in the evening. So I say, well, you know, I really don't want that mountain to burn off. It burned off there a year ago, and I really don't want it. Don't need to be burned off. I don't want it to burn off. And so maybe I should do something about that. I can tell you what I did about a week before. Maybe I should. A group like this is a little bit sensitive. But let me tell you before I tell you this story. My son went up there and we had a fire. And we got around the end of the fire and went down where the water was. And spring, and this fire was coming sort of up over it. And I told my boy, I said, the only way this fire can be put out is the Lord sends us some rain. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. We got down on our knees and asked about trying to get that fire put out. And we got in their car and started to drive, and the fire had almost got around us. And we hadn't drove over maybe a half a mile. My boy says, look, Dad, there's some more fires starting up on the side of the hill. And I could see a cloud or two come in, and the lightning had not stopped the fire. The lightning had set about 3 or 4 more fires up on the side of the mountain there. And I just said, well, I guess the Lord needs a storm to come in here. And anyway, we started to drive up around, and we probably drove another about 1.5 miles. And there was raindrops about that big around, started to hit the windshield of our car. And I tell you, in 30 seconds, that fire was all out. It was totally out. That whole fire was over. Now, let me go back to my story about the second fire. I said, well, the Lord helped us put the last fire out. Maybe I should do something this time. So I got on the telephone and called up my son. I said, I need a dozer down there by the Riverside Bridge. So he brought a dozer down and jumped it off, and anyway I went and got on it. And this was about dark, and I headed up the canyon, just kicking a few little brush off the bottom of the ridge, and made a circle and got up on top of the hill. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I turned the dozer off and sort of went to sleep for a little bit. And when I got up the next morning, the fire was all off. And I got on the dozer and come back around. There's one Joshua tree still on fire. I kicked it on the inside of the fire and went back to the river and went home. And I'm talking, this was probably about a 20-mile trip or a little more. Well, I got down home, down by the river, by the road, about 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was hungry, so I called my wife and told her to come and get me. And about the time while I was sitting along the side of the road with this dozer, here come the first BLM truck. Bus, loaded with firefighters, coffee cups in their hand, and then there's a whole caravan of them. They was all going to put this fire out. When they got there was no fire. I'd already took care of the fire. The Lord took care of the fire the day before. Now why in the heck did we the people pay, say, $1 million for that fire crew? That's not necessary, people. That's all a bunch of baloney. And today I hope that I can explain where I get the courage to do that kind of things. Another thing about it, BLM never did come and try to trespass me or do anything. They just kept their mouths shut. Now I want to go into this proper form of government a little bit and explain a little bit where we are. Ryan, if you can, let me introduce my sons. I got a son here by Dave Bundy. He's my pilot today, and Ryan Bundy, he's my assistant. And what we're going to do is, did we get the papers handed out?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get it up on there?
We didn't do that.
What did it? Okay, let me have a copy of it. So you got a copy of it?
We didn't find the check.
Okay, how many of you got it, what these forms of proper form of government? Everybody pretty well got that? Okay, the reason I want to go through this with you is this, I sort of developed this over the years, and I didn't even have a copy of it, so I sort of redeveloped it again to make this. But what I want to do here is make it clear what I'm talking about and how I feel about the government. I find the glasses on my head every once in a while. Now, we all understand that our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is talking about we the people. I want to start down here, and this works from the bottom, because we the people. I want you to understand, we are we the people. We're going to move up this circle, around this circle, from the right hand bottom.
So keep using mine, because it's hard to hear back.
I can lean over on this, but I might go to sleep. Can you hear now? I don't know how to get this mic to where it's, let me turn it like this. There we go. Now, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the proper form of government. I want you to look at the bottom and we the people. And then we put, we the people of the 13 original colonies. We fought the Revolutionary War. And we made the United States of America. Remember why we did that. We needed to gain our independence. And why did we need independence? Because we had a government that was basically had unlimited power over us, and they were telling us exactly what to do and how to do it. And what did we come to America for? What did our pilgrim people come here for? Didn't they come here for freedom and liberty? And haven't they been here for about 200 years? What happened to their freedom and liberty? They did not have their freedom and liberty even after 200 years of struggling in America. And so they fought the strongest army in the world, the British Army. And what did they do? They whipped them. And they gained their liberty and freedom at that point. Now, when they created the Constitution, they definitely was aware of what they had done. And they had definitely aware of the last 200 years where they'd been. And they did not want to go back there any way. And so they struggled and fought and figured out a Constitution in the United States that was very inspired by our Heavenly Father in that process. And they created the Constitution of the United States of America. And how did they create it? They created the Constitution, a Republican form of government, granting limited power to the United States government, reserving all other powers to the states and to the people. 3 branches of government: legislature, executive, legislation, and jurisdiction. They're trying to be able to control what kind of government had, and so the government didn't get a lot of power. We had 2 different kinds of land at that time. We had territorial land, and we had 13 sovereign states. Now, let me talk about territory. In Article 4 of the Constitution, it tells us about territory. It tells us that the United States Congress has power to dispose of it and has unlimited power to make all rules and regulations concerning territories of the United States. Territories is land that we either conquered or we bought from some other nation. And so territories become not part of the United States Constitution, only in that sense that it did allow a Congress to have that unlimited power, but they didn't have the people that lived in a territory didn't have the Constitution, as I'm going to talk about it today. Okay, so now we understand how we got what we got. Now let me tell you what we got out of this process. We got sovereign states. I don't know too much about Wyoming in the date. I know Utah became a sovereign state in 1896. Nevada became a sovereign state in 1864. Now I understand by the Constitution what happened at statehood. One of the things happened at statehood is the states were brought into the United States of America, and they was brought in under the as the original 13, the equal footing of the original 13 states. They had the same power, same representation, and they had boundaries. This is one thing I want you to understand. Each one of these states have a boundary, state line. Those original 13 states had boundaries. And Utah and Wyoming, Nevada has a boundary. And within that sovereign state, that boundaries there were subdivisions made. The subdivisions are the counties. In my state, the state is the outline of Nevada. The county is the outline of the state, or the outline of the county. It has boundaries. It has Nevada has political power in Congress. The county of Clark becomes a sovereign, almost like a sovereign nation. This is something that I don't think you was ever taught in schools. What do you think the people that fought the Revolution War was after? They was after freedom and liberty. They wasn't after a state government. They wasn't after a federal government. They was fully filled up with that. So the point that they was willing to give their life and fight the greatest army in the world. What was they trying to create? I said they wasn't trying to create a state government, did they? They was trying to create a government close to home, where we the people could rule, where we the people could make decisions, where we the people could have policing power. They didn't want the king's army to be telling them what to do, or the king's politicians to tell them what to do, or governors. They wanted to be the governor themselves. We the people wanted to be the governor. We the people wanted freedom. We the people wanted freedom to do what they wanted to do. And we had struggled for 200 years and still didn't have that. So now we have subdivisions called counties. And this is where our county commissioners come in so important. We, the people of that county, elect these county commissioners. We choose them and we put them in position. Maybe we pay them, maybe we don't. It don't matter. We do elect them and put them in that position. Now, we do that as a democracy. But let me tell you something about democracy. I learned this from my buddy right here. Democracy is, might have to remember, mob. Democracy is like a mob power. Let me explain democracy to you. Democracy is mob power. It is like, say somebody steals a cat or a horse down here in town, and hey, we know who stole that horse. And they run him down and they get him caught, and everybody in town comes, and somebody hollers, let's hang him. And somebody else says, let's vote on hanging him. Well, the whole town votes that they hang this guy. That's democracy. Yeah, all of you voted. Hang this son of a gun. He stole somebody's horse. He's a horse thief. Hang him. Okay. But they get him on the horse and they get it over around his neck and they get ready to kick that horse out from under him. And the county sheriff shows up. And he says, oh no, boys. He says, this is a republic form of government that we worked under, and I have been elected to be your sheriff. You pay me to be your sheriff, and let me tell you something, boys. If you hang that man, every one of you guys will hang, because I will make sure you have the trial that he should be getting, and you will all hang. So think about this a little bit. He says, you get him cut down. I will take him to the jail, and he will get his constitutional opportunity to be represented and have a fair trial with a jury, and then they'll decide if he's guilty or not. But at this point, he's not guilty. Now, do you see the difference between a republic form of government and a democracy? Do you understand that? Democracy is mob. This sheriff was operating under the Republican form of government. In other words, we got laws and regulations, and we got somebody delegated to exercise this government. And what government are we exercising under? We, the people of the county, has hired this sheriff to protect our life, liberty, and property. That's what he's for. That's what he does. What do you think we do, hired or elected county sheriffs to do? Protect our life, liberty, and property. To uphold the laws of the state of Wyoming and the Constitution of the United States. Did you guys swear an oath to do that? Every one of them. What about county commissioner? Is that what you did? You darn right you did. You did swear to write seatbelt tickets. You're not elected to be revenue makers. You're elected to protect our life, liberty, and property. And you are their governor. You're the governor of we, the people of this county. That's why we elected you. Now, in this whole process, did you hear me say anything about the federal government? Federal agents? BLM? Forest Service? Park Service? No, I didn't talk about that. That's not even part of the proper form of government. Land ownership? Did we talk, how does a BLM owning land, if you understand the Constitution? How does this endangered species thing come try to take over the land and talk about sage grouse? Why does that have to do anything here? What about, let me talk just a little, well, let me go one more step here. Okay. As I explained this, I know I might have got a little confused, but do you understand what I'm talking about on the proper form of government? I want by hands that you say, what's wrong with this form of government? Does anybody have any problem with this form of government?
It's just right.
It's just right. Has anybody else got any problem with this form of government? Do you believe this is what our founding fathers was trying to tell us?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we live it then? If we believe it, why aren't we living it? We got a damn mess all around us. Our whole nation is in a mess. We're all sort of suffered. Not because our founding fathers didn't lay out a plan. You know, every one of you guys are here trying to figure out a plan. You ladies are here to help figure out a plan. You know, our founding fathers, with the help of our Heavenly Father, already give you a plan. It was inspired. Our founding fathers studied and struggled, and they prayed, and they received answers to their prayers. And they created the Constitution of the United States of America. We do not need to be struggling trying to figure out what to do. They've already done it for us. And back to my story. When I finally fired the BLM, and I took a stand, I told you the weight went off me, and I felt like, hey, I can live again. I can start to create and bettering things. I can start doing my range improvements. I can buy another cow. I started to feel freedom. You know why? Because America has a great big cloud over it. A dark, dark cloud. This plan, this proper form of government has a very dark cloud over it. We have got to set this cloud on fire, blow it up, and get it out of the road so we can see this again. It comes clear to not us, just us. But the American people are needing it. Let me talk about a little bit about foreign nations. You know, for the last 230 years? How old's Davy? Davy, how old are you? 35? Hell, anyway, it's been at least 235 years since this Constitution was written, and it's time that we clean it up and get back to doing what our founding fathers intended us to do.
Explain the cloud. Tell them what the cloud is.
The cloud is, you guys all feel this and see this cloud. The cloud is the bureaucracies that are over our land. The corruption of our government. I am not anti-government. But if I want to support our Constitution. I want to support our proper form of government. I want to support our state government. I want to support our county government. I want to support my county sheriff. And I don't want this cloud of bureaucracy over it to where we can't exercise our free agencies and liberties. And we have this cloud that we've got to remove. Now, I want to just imagine this, and I've done this on a chalkboard. I put this up on the chalkboard, and what I always wanted to do, never got it done, but I wanted to do this. I wanted to put a sheet of fiber, real light fiber, sort of flammable fiber, and then I wanted to say how this cloud was over us. And I'd like to just strike a match to it and go shoosh, and get rid of this cloud that's in front of our Constitution, that's weighing down our nation and covering up the truths that our founding fathers gave us. Now let me. How much time more we got here?
Can you get that?
Well, we're going to break this thing up, so I don't want to go too far into this. I want to talk to our county commissioners just a little bit, and when I talk to them, I'm talking to every county commissioner in the United States. You represent we the people. Not we the people of the state, not we the people of the nation, not we the people of this world. You represent we the people of this county. When you get outside of this county, you don't represent nobody. But in this county, you swore to an oath to protect their life, liberty, and property. Uphold the laws of the state of Wyoming and the Constitution of the United States. If you don't know what them things are, then you better learn. Because I'll tell you what, next time they better vote you out. They better get somebody in there that does understand these things. And you don't better understand that you don't work for the federal government. You don't work for the state government. You don't even work for the county government, except for what you work for we the people. That's what you do. And anytime you represent some other organization, it's like you represent a foreign nation. Like representing Russia over here, or Mexico, or Canada. It's treason to the people of your county. Anytime you sign an MOU with a foreign agent that has nothing to do with we the people, you are in trouble. And county sheriff, it's the same with you. You're paid, and you're elected, and you're paid by we the people to uphold the laws of Wyoming and the United States Constitution You swore to the oath that you'll protect life, liberty, and property, not of the next county, only of this county. When you go over that line, you don't have no jurisdiction or authority. When you're here, you have proper constitutional jurisdiction and authority. You have the only policing power, and you have the only arresting power. Even if an FBI man comes to your county, he does not have arresting power. He might make you think he does, and the rest of you might think he does, but he does not have arresting power in his county. That man right there is the only man that has that power. He can delegate that power only to his deputies that you, the people, pay for. He can't delegate that power to, say, a BLM ranger. No way in the world can he. If he can, you guys better sue him to start with, and you better get rid of him next election. If he signs any kind of MOU with them kind of people. Now, I want to tell you something about protecting your property. I do not expect that sheriff to do one darn thing that you're not willing to do. If you're not ready to stand on the line and protect your life, liberty, and property, don't you dare expect your sheriff to do that. Because why should he? I mean, yeah, you're petty, but why should he? If you're not convicted enough that that's right, then don't expect him to do it, stand and do it alone. And don't expect him to put his deputies on the line to do it. If you got a problem, you get out there and you tell the sheriff, hey, I need some help with this problem. Let's take care of it. If I have a cow get killed out in my field or down on the road and I suspect somebody shot it, then I'm going to do all I can do to protect my property. I'm going to try to figure out who did that. I'm going to try to arrest him, whatever it is. But I'm going to call my county sheriff and say, hey, I need some help down here. That's the kind of relationship you need to have with him. And again, I honor you for your position. And you can tell I'm very serious. You do have the most powerful position in this United States of America. More so than the President of the United States, more so than his army. You have that much on your shoulders. He don't have no jurisdiction authority, neither does his army. But you do. And I honor you for that. And I hope you can understand what I'm saying to you. I want you to stop and think about this, what I'm telling you. I'll come back and visit with you this afternoon. Word?
He prayed to me with the Orient Marathon, so it got him stopped from taking the big break against their title, riding off the lane.
Pretty much just did, didn't he?
Well, let me tell you something about that. I guess everybody probably knows about it. It's been almost 2 months ago now. The BLM said, we're going to get rid of Cliven Bundy. He's the last man standing. And so they hired a contract cowboy and his crews, helicopters, crews, and all those things. And they was going to seize my cattle. And I knew about this seizure, well, for 20 years. I knew about this seizure. They just never had guts enough to come and do it. But now they think they got guts enough to come and do it. And so it's scheduled, and my county sheriff gets in concern, and for about, I'd say about 3 weeks before this happens, remember my county sheriff is in Las Vegas, Nevada, which has got a million people in it, and, you know, big area, so he's got a lot of things more to worry about than the cowboy out in the hills. But he gets concerned, so he sends his investigator deputies out, And I get a word out, 2 men comes here and 2 more comes here, and they're asking about Cliven Bundy. They're trying to find out how mean Cliven Bundy really is. And let me tell you how mean I really am. I'm mean enough, I told them, whatever it takes, when they want to know what I'm going to do. I said, whatever it takes, that's what I will do. And so now I got the county sheriff all upset because he's not sure what it takes. BLM's not sure what it takes. The FBI don't know what it's going to take. And I'm not telling them anything except I'll do whatever it takes. So that's my stand. So now the sheriff, he's got 4 deputies out there, I know, trying to investigate me, going to all my neighbors and friends. And finally, the sheriff comes and makes contact. And I spend 10 hours personally with my county sheriff in 3 different times talking to him. I talk to him just like I'm talking to you. And I asked my sheriff to do one thing. I said, he wants to know what I want him to do. I said, I only want you to do one thing. I want you to say no. All I asked the sheriff is just to say no. In other words, when BLM were coming to ask him if they could get his assistance, they come to get the approval of the county commissioners. They try to get the approval of the media. Why in the heck does the federal government want approval of the county commissioners? And why do they want approval of my sheriff? And why do they want the media on their side if they own the land? If this is federal land out here, and why are they wanting why do they want to talk to all these local government people? Why don't they just tell us what they're going to do? Isn't that what Great Britain did? They told those people what to do. They told them how much their tax was going to be. They told them how they're supposed to act. They told the judges how to treat them. They told the law people how to do it. Well, if this is federal land, excuse me, federal conference, federal land, I'm going to get after Bird here a little bit. If this is federal land, belong to the United States government, then I guess I don't really have nothing to say. And neither does the sheriff have anything to say.
And that's why my organization says get rid of the federal land. They don't own it.
They don't have any right now.
Okay?
No time to, they have no time.
That's right.
Okay, this afternoon I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Now, where was I at here?
Your copy of your county sheriff.
Okay. Rich wanted to know what I did to get rid of this. Okay, let's get on to this story. Okay, now the government is going to come and gather my county. United States government, that's my government. They're going to come and take me out of business. They're going to seize my cattle with contract cowboy. They've got a crew of helicopters, trucks, cowboys, and they're wanting the sheriff's approval. They want the county sheriff, the commission approval, and they've got a date. The county sheriff comes out personally with his second command, and he said, "I've got bad news for you." He said they're going to gather these cattle on Wednesday. I don't remember the 7th or something of April, and they're going to start. And I said, "I'm ready. Are you going to do anything?" "Well, I don't know." He said, "They got a judgment against you, and we're going to have to, I've asked that they renew the judgment against you, but they're not going to wait for that." And so basically he says, "They're going to get your cows, and I'm not going to do a hell of a lot." I said, "Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to protect my life, liberty, and property? Are you going to put your deputies along the road and keep me from protecting my property? Just what the hell are you going to do? If you're not going to protect my property, then for hell's sakes, don't stand on the fence and get my road." And he you know, sort of, well, he didn't really tell me what he was going to do, but he did tell me that this land is federal government land, like the government does on it, so he admits that it is BLM, U.S. land, the ownership of it. He does admit that he will honor the federal court, even though he don't really have anything current, he's going to honor it. And so anyway, so now I said, well, I'll tell you something. I have not said nothing about this seizure. I've known about it for a few weeks. I've never said it to even my family. I said, my wife and I know about it. I've never told my kids. I've never told my neighbors. I've never told the media. And I says, I won't tell nobody until time comes. And then when time comes, I will protect my property. So, but I need to start, I just think I haven't done nothing now. I just think, well, I need to start doing something about this. Maybe I better do something. I have in my mind what I need to do. First, I'm going to put my elected officials on notice. So I write a constructive notice, which I've got copies here. I write a constructive notice to my governor, attorney general, county commissioners, my sheriff, my agriculture division, brand, and fish and wildlife. I write them a constructive notice and I send them off on the email. And I tell them that I am a citizen of the state of Nevada, and that I live in Clark County, that I am a rancher on the Bundy Ranch, and that they are elected officials, and they have sworn to protect my life and liberty and property. And I am going to hold them accountable. If any one hair of my animal or one piece of property or anything happens to anything of mine, they're going to be accountable. Did I send anything to the federal government? I did not send anything to the federal government. I don't have no problem with the federal government. Maybe I don't have no problem with nobody. But I put on notice my governor all the way down to my sheriff that they would be accountable for anything that happened to my property. And then I find out who the contract cowboy is. And I give them a constructive notice. I say, hey, first, I got the letters here, I can show you. First, the cowboy contractor, his brother is my neighbor, one of my very best friends. And so in loyalty to my friend, I decided I need to give his brother a warning. So I write a warning letter to the Couture's, and I warn the Couture's what is going to happen if they move forward on this seizure of my cattle. And I tell them that they're my friend, and that this will enter into a long dispute, a lawsuit, and feelings that our family's going to have to deal with. For years, for 5 or 6 years, we're going to get through this. And I beg them not to get involved. And then I give them a time limit, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a certain day. And when that time come up, you know what I did? I emailed my elected officials the constructive notice. I served constructive notice on the contract cowboy. And what did I tell him? I said, you are now notified that if you touch anything of mine, any of your employees, any of your equipment, any of your contractors, any of your bankers, any of your, I will lien your property and take you to court if you touch one hair of my animals and property. So now I got a constructive notice set in place. And who else? What else? Now remember, I'm going to do whatever it takes. So what do? I get on the telephone, I call up the media. Man, they're excited. Another range war, St. Terrell Rebellion. What do? They come and they make a big deal. I have to run away from there to keep from being on the headlines newspaper every day. Why? Well, I don't know. It's the same reason why you have me here. You want to know what I did to whip the federal government. You know how long it took me to whip the federal government? In 24 hours, I had verbal notice from the sheriff. it had come from Washington D.C. to my county sheriff, or to my county sheriff, to me, and said that there would be no roundup, it was permanently dismissed. 24 hours. Everybody in the world, the newspaper, the sheriff, everybody wanted, my family, everybody wanted to know what Cliven Bundy was going to do about his cattle getting seized. I never did have to, never was nervous about it. Two things I had faith that I was doing the right thing, and second, I didn't do nothing until I was prompted to do it. And when I did it, and it was over. I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Cliven, thank you for this first deposit on the information that we're seeking. Many of you, this may be brand new. To some of us who have studied it, it's not new. But if you would just please consider what the law really is and what we need to do to make that claim. Cliven will come back at the end of our speaker